Vinnie Forrest and many firemen worrying about a future with lung disease. And health officials say tens of thousands more could be at long-term risk. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
Now, those who have no choice but to live in Lower Manhattan, those who have no other air to breathe, have special concerns about its quality, as you might imagine. George and Wendy Tabbs have an apartment in Battery Park City, just across the street from where the World Trade Center once stood. We, in fact, have the view that it remains from their apartment. They returned home shortly after September 11th, but they say they soon became too ill to remain there. They're both with us tonight from New York. Good evening to you both. George, I guess we'll begin with you. First of all, any pre-existing conditions that have complicated things? And second, what was the first signs of illness you remember?
Yeah, Brian, actually a couple of things. I do have asthma and developed it about 10 years ago. And it's been really good lately. I've had no problem until 9/11. After that event, that day, more like a massacre actually, we came back downtown. The asthma just really kicked in badly, and I found myself sleeping about 3 hours a night and coughing all night long, shortness of breath, sinus conditions, stuff like that. It was really terrible.
And Wendy, what was your first sign that something was wrong?
For me, it was mostly headaches. Again, I'm predisposed to headaches because I have sinus problems. In fact, I've had sinus surgery. But the headaches that I was suffering from after 9/11 were like no other headache I have ever had before. I mean, it was clearly something different, and it ended up so bad that I ended up in the emergency room just for pain relief. And I'm still trying to figure out, I mean, nobody is diagnosing it as anything specific, but I do know that when I go back to our apartment to pick up mail or to get things that we need, the next day, again, the headache starts. And then, you know, so there's something going on.
This is the view I mentioned earlier out your window. This was obviously earlier along in the construction process. Let me try something with you both, and this is devil's advocate. You both know the amount of plastics and toxins in just one office: the carpeting, the couch, the desk, concrete, the dust created when it's pulverized.
Sure.
Did it not stand to reason, in a common sense point of view, no matter what the EPA was saying, that it was bad stuff?
Let me address that, Brian. Actually, that's a great thing. Common sense, of course, dictates that two of the world's largest buildings collapsing right in front of you are going to bring massive amounts of dangerous debris raining upon you. There's no question about that. What we wanted to know, what was in the debris, and it took Joel Kupferman from the New York Environmental Law and Justice Project requesting through the Freedom of Information Act to get the EPA to release that even asbestos was released. We didn't know what we were breathing in, and now we are very concerned about what's in the air. Besides the asbestos, we've now heard rumors that there may be that the generators were powered by mercury, thousands of gallons of mercury, and we see now 4 people sick with mercury poisoning, that the freon gas that burnt may have turned into nerve gas. We've been hearing all this stuff, and we don't know what to think of it down in Tribeca, where we live, and there has been no system in New York City, and especially from the EPA, warning us of what is in the air and what we should do.
A reminder to our viewers, the EPA administrator is standing by, who is going to jump in after this interview is concluded. Wendy, is there someone you blame beyond Osama bin Laden?
Well, the terrorists, obviously, but, you know, like George mentioned, it took Mr. Kupferman to go through the Freedom of Information Act to even get EPA to release all of their test results, which were not made public as they were receiving them themselves. And some of those test results were alarming. They were clearly higher than what is considered safe by New York City EPA standards, which, by the way, are lower than New York State's EPA standards.
So if you'd had those results earlier, you would have gotten out earlier despite what common sense was telling you.
Absolutely ran away. It's I mean, I think right now we're looking at a future cancer cluster down there. We would have ran away if we'd known what kind of toxins were in the air and what they're saying now and what they're not saying now, but we're hoping to find out. It's just the area is bad and needs to be cleaned.
Okay, make it quick, Wendy.
Okay, also another thing, an EPA official that we saw just walking back to the site basically told us off the record about a week afterwards to get our dog tested for lead poisoning. We had never even heard about lead poisoning, which of course logic says that, you know, that's one of the toxins.
Okay, this
But,
has nicely
you know,
nicely
so-
set up the case for our next guest, and that's by way of saying George and Wendy Tabb of Lower Manhattan. Thank you both.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
For the government explanation and the problem with the air quality near the site of the